What's up? Welcome to the Dumb Saints podcast. I'm Alex.
PJ.
And we have some guests with us. PJ, introduce us.
Well, we have some young black leaders in our church. And I'm being emphasis because our church is a multicultural church. Yeah. We believe that this is what a picture of heaven looks like, minus a couple races. But we are very intentional about...
Yeah, there could be more people here.
Yes, but this is a good representation.
Good spread.
This is a good representation of our church.
Yes.
100%. We are very intentional on multiculturalism. Our pastor has been fighting for a multicultural church for the last 25 years, and we're seeing the fruits of it now. And we get to kind of have a conversation with some of the leaders in our church, men who have influence and can make decisions and can lead people. And we just want to get their insight on some of the topics that we've talked about in our previous episode and some new topics.
I asked you to introduce them.
Oh, this is Matt. This is Matt.
That's good.
I'm not going to give you his government or his age, but he is a leader in the church.
I want to give the age.
Okay, how old are you?
24.
24.
24.
This is Elijah. He's
24.
24.
Oh, both 24.
And we're both 31.
We're old.
Actually, no, my birthday's tomorrow. So
What?
I'm 30. So
Happy
I'm
birthday.
I'm 31 in a couple hours.
Holy crap, dude. You are old.
Yep.
Wow.
So here we are. We're going to jump into the conversation. Alex, you have anything to say? You want to start? You want to kind of preface this?
No, I mean, obviously, this is a part 2. So we had the episode last week that was... there was some heavy moments.
Yeah.
But... And I'm sure with any difficult conversation, there will be moments where hopefully if you're listening, you're uncomfortable. If you're comfortable the whole time, I don't think we're doing anything. I want us to get out of our comfort zones. So some of what we talk about tonight will just be a continuation. Basically, we recognize that there's a problem in America, and it is, I think, even worse when it comes to churches. Yeah. And one of the things that, and I didn't tell you guys this when we were talking earlier, but one of the things that we kind of pointed out in the last episode was that we think that a lot of what we're seeing is a church problem, because within white churches, there's all these different white churches and all these different denominations. Like everybody, there's so much separation and division before you even deal with racial division. And then it just gets multiplied with this other thing where not only do we have division within the church because of I believe this, and I believe this, and I don't like this, and we think the carpet should be orange, and we think the carpet should be purple. Like, dude, literally churches have split over dumber things than that, and it's unfortunate. But then you add on top of that, well, these people look different than me, and these people sound different than me, and they talk different than me, and their music is different than my music. And so I think that it is a problem outside of just the church, but within the church, it's even worse because you compile those two things together. So we're hoping that if we talk about it, shine a light on some of the things that some people are afraid to talk about, and other people, it's talked about like this weird, like we just want to be real. Just talk about it in a practical way. What's your real life experience been? And then what are the takeaways from that? Because we're dumb, dude. Yeah. I mean, literally, you're dumb too, and so are you, dude. In the grand scheme, somebody is a genius, and we are dumb. The reality is, I think the smartest way to talk about this stuff is to dumb it down so that we're taking the mysticism and all the extra deep, we're using words that none of us can understand. Let's just talk about it real and then line it up with, well, what does the Bible say and what does Scripture say and how can we address that? So
I think the best way to do that is for each of them to kind of say, just give us a quick background.
Yeah.
Matt, I think you can start it off. How long you've been following Christ, your idea of Christ, church, just kind of everything that's led you up to this moment now, and just the fruit of how you've been honoring God and how he's honoring you back, and just to kind of give a brief description on maybe stuff you've experienced in different churches. And here you are at a church that's led by a white pastor. For some people, when they see that, they may view you as a traitor. They may view you as like, man, why are you going to go support that man? Why are you going to give your tithe to that church? People do have that thing, and vice versa.
Dude, you're saying something actually really serious, but I put these stupid glasses on my face right as you said.
These glasses are stupid?
No. They're making, on me, they probably look stupid, let's be real. Yeah. So I put them on to try and make you laugh, and then he's like,
When
People are
it's-
probably calling you a traitor, and I'm just sitting
I
here.
don't know. I'm just saying, just take
I wouldn't
us
say a
there.
traitor.
Take us there. Just give us, you
Okay,
got,
you
you got a
want-
couple minutes.
I can give a little context to that.
Okay.
One of the phrases we talked about in the last episode, which is something that Pastor Anthony, we've talked about before. People have been accused of, oh, you're down there at that white man's church.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what he's referring to. There can be a view from a minority community that like you've given up on us, and you're going somewhere else. And you may or may not have dealt that or thought about it, but that's what he meant by that.
Okay. So I'll give you a little background on my walk with Christ. I grew up in a Christian household, but I went to Haitian churches because I am Creole. I'm Haitian. I'll start from the beginning. I was growing up in it. I went to church my whole life, but to a certain point in time when I started growing up in Christ in a Haitian household, I'm started seeing a lot of like, it wasn't Jesus' love. It was a lot of religion. And in them churches, like I seen a lot of crazy stuff. Like I seen pastors beat their kids. I seen, bro, I seen it all. I seen,
It's similar in Spanish church.
bro, it's like, it's kind of bad. And the thing is with Haitian church, they will call out your sin in front of everybody.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of sad. I remember when I went to a church, well, my church, I can't say went to a church. Well, I did go to a church. And this kid got caught with smoking weed. They found weed in his drawer.
Yeah.
And the pastor brought it to church, called him out, told him to come to the front, and everybody started putting hands on him and started praying for him. I'm like, bro, this is crazy to me.
Have you seen, there's a video like that of a girl who got pregnant and it went viral a couple months ago. She's up front in the church confessing for being pregnant to the whole church.
Mm.
And it's, I don't know if it's a Haitian church, but it was an African American church. And I was like heartbroken for that girl. So that's what the guys are doing, like right there.
It was like a whole bunch of condemning. It was not like they were trying to fix the dude. They just wanted to condemn him. I seen, well, I don't want to even get into details. I don't like bashing on like churches in general.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of religion and hate in a lot of churches I've been to. I go church hopping, like PJ calls me, so I'm not from my church. But I like to check out churches here and there because like I want to see what they do and what they do differently so I can pour into my own church. You feel me? So there's a reason behind everything. But going from church, when I fell off from church was around like 14, 15 when I started coming here. Then I fell off completely. I started living in a life of the world, started doing whatever I wanted. Then I had to hit rock bottom to finally find Christ, and I came here. Then I started serving. So that's basically my whole background in a short term.
So when you got saved and ended up coming here, why come here and not back to
Oh,
a church that you were more familiar with?
I used to come here with one of my homeboys when I was at least 12.
Yeah.
Through 14, I used to pop out here and there, but I still went to my other church. So I came here and there. And this was one of the churches, I don't know, I actually got drawn back to because I seen a love aspect that my church didn't. And this was what I was familiar with. So I took the chance coming back here and it completely changed my life.
So you say the love, like basic, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but I want you to expound on that. What was your experience coming in that made you say, okay, I feel like I could belong here. I feel welcome here, as opposed to going into like a church like where you grew up.
So my church, it was a black church. So all you see is black. But when I came here, I knew it was multicultural. But when I walked in, it was welcoming. I walked in, everybody dapping me up here and there. I'm seeing Zach. I'm seeing Pastor Austin when he was serving here. They showed love to me that no one else ever did. So I gave it a chance. Then the more I got poured into, the more I got to meet different people of different ethnicities, like PJ. I started meeting PJ. Met you. I met Pastor Dave. I just got poured into by different cultures. And from the different culture, you get to learn from their backgrounds. And that's what I learned from.
That's good.
That is good. I have had similar experiences with certain churches. There's kind of like two different like philosophies on it, and we've talked about this as well because it could also be divided up into like a small church, big church mentality that I think is what you're experiencing. But part of that is like we want people to be able to belong before they believe because we think that's a better strategy for reaching people. Whereas a lot of smaller churches tend to say like, hey, we want you to behave like us before you can belong. So you have to, not only do you have to believe what we believe before you belong, but you need to behave before you belong. And for us, we're like, dude, not only do you not have, you don't have to do all the right things, you don't even have to believe the same stuff. Like we're going to make you feel welcome and let you can come to my small group. you can come and play basketball with us, and you can, yeah, you can have my number and let's talk and let's hang out. It's not going to be
There's no
like a
hoops.
us or them.
There's no hoops for people to jump through.
I'm trying to get rid of all that.
Yeah, because that's when you look at the early church in Acts,
Yeah.
the only way their church grew daily
Mhm.
and with massive numbers is definitely just through an authentic community relationship. And what does it say? They went in the Word, they broke bread together, and they grew.
In numbers every day.
And every day. So we keep that in mind with everything we do because we don't want our church to have a cap on it. We don't want our church to just have a cap on the community because we want to save as many people as possible. And obviously we can't save people, but we can create an environment where God can use his transformative power for people in our church. And that's why we always, always, always leave the 99 for the one. Our experience are tailored to that. And I believe that's sometimes what happens with a lot of, especially Hispanics and Blacks in our community. They come from a church that it's a longer experience. There's more worship. There's more emotion. There's more going on. And they sometimes believe our church maybe is not meeting some of the criteria, but we are solely focused on winning souls for the kingdom. Before we get into that, Elijah, how about you? What was kind of your upbringing and kind of that same question?
So, I grew up in the church. Both my parents are ministers, so I grew up knowing about God and knowing a lot about God. Like even my parents, they made me remember all 66 books of the Bible in order.
Dang.
So I
Do it right now.
I probably
Okay.
Genesis, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. Now
That's good.
But I grew up in the church. Both my parents are ministers, but for me, it was hard really to submit to Christ because I didn't have the best relationship with my father growing up. He was a great father, but he wasn't perfect. Like he had a short temper, and I would hold on to that. I would hold on to it. It's like I don't want to come around him. Like I don't understand. So that really caused like a separation to me, like distancing myself from my family. But nevertheless, we grew up. I went to a Catholic high school, and in the Catholic high school, it was a totally different environment I was used to.
Wow.
But it was, I wouldn't say it was racist, but you did have like some themes, like some of my friends, their fathers, like, be like, oh, no, you can't hang around them, or you definitely can't date them, you know? So you definitely had that. But I would say one of my mentors there really poured into me and really took hold of me and not necessarily saved my life, but really put me on the right path when it comes to academics, made me realize like you're not stupid, you just don't try.
Yeah.
And that was really pivotal in my life. But I wasn't saved. I was still in the world trying to play football. Then I tear my ACL. Unfortunately, didn't go play football in
Dang.
college, and that broke me because my whole like life was in sports and
Your
girls.
identity.
Yeah.
Early identity. Yeah.
Early identity, sports and girls, and it's like if I'm not doing that, who am I? You know. So I was home going to college and just feeling so empty. But I remember it was just on Instagram, a pastor speaking. Someone's looking for a feeling and searching for a feeling, and feeling it in all the wrong places, and it was speaking directly to me. So from then, I just started watching three sermons. Like, all right, I want to try this. So this was like during COVID as well, so no churches was meeting. So
Right.
it was super hard. So I'm
You could
watching-
church hop for sure back then. You
Oh,
could
yeah, for
go
sure.
from YouTube video
Yeah,
to YouTube
bro.
video.
That's what he was doing. He doesn't do that anymore.
oh, right.
But eventually, I think I went back to Calvary, and it was a great Calvary going there. But it wasn't a lot of diversity in there. It was a great church, but I didn't really see a lot of people who looked like me. Unfortunately, I found like a small friend group that looked like me. That we eventually, it was like 5 or 6 of us, and we really got super close, super tight. But it still felt like a separation, like between us. Each of them got married. They moved to different churches. Their wives wanted smaller churches because Calvary's kind of a big church. So it was just me again in the church, just feeling like I'm trying to like bridge the gap, but it's kind of hard. It's like some resistance. And I really feel like God's still like telling me to like try some other churches. So I tried some other churches in the area. Then I came here, saw Pastor Anthony, and I already knew him previously because we played basketball all the time. So seeing him here just felt more comfortable. Like, okay, I'm more receptive. Like, I want to see how this is really like.
Yeah.
You know. Then tried it. Pastor Anthony was just pouring into me, talking to me each Sunday, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna start making this my home church.
That's dope.
That's dope. You really think about that.
Bro, we talked about that on the last episode. One of the things you said, it's like if you are a minority in a larger group, we talked about the school here. When we started a school, we noticed that like all the black kids were sitting with the black kids,
Yeah.
and all the white kids and I think it was just because the minorities were sitting with people who looked like them and have life experiences. Dude, no one was segregating the lunchroom.
Yeah.
It was segregating itself.
Yeah.
And it was happening. I think part of that is, and Anthony has told me, he's like, there's like, and actually, it not just Anthony, I've heard other people talk about it as well. Like if you're going into a room and you are a minority, there's like this, I see you, you see me. Like we know that we're different here and we're together. And I think if you're in a church where you're walking in, it's interesting to me that in a church that large, you still found a group of people
Yeah.
who were also minorities, and you guys were like locked in. And you're like, even though we found each other, we still felt separate. I'm not even sure that's like that church's fault. I think it's just
No, I
like
don't think
what
so.
happens.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's a great church. It's a great church.
oh, trust me, we love them. I think the only
Just
way,
spoke at Chapel there, what?
yeah, a
2
couple
months
weeks
ago?
ago, I spoke at the school there. Did you speak also?
No, they
We
don't-
gave them
they
your
don't
name.
allow
They're gonna
it.
call you.
They don't allow.
They're gonna call you. uh, so because that happens naturally, I think it's on us, and I say us, I mean, I guess it's me. It's just me.
It is just you.
I'm the minority right now. I think it's on us, on white Christians as the majority in a lot of these churches. We have to go out of our way to make people from minorities feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And I will never be able to relate to a black man as easily as I would to somebody who's grown up in a white suburban neighborhood like I have. Like, we're not gonna. I can relate, but I have to go out of my way, and I have to I have to be intentional about that. And most people just don't care, so they won't do that. Like they just don't care to go and like they're happy with their people, and most people are happy with their people, and I think that's fine. And this is what we said in the last episode. That's fine if you're not like an active part of what I believe God is trying to do with his church in
Yeah.
the world. If you want to be an active part of what I believe Jesus is trying to do in our world, then you can't do that.
Yeah.
You can't just stay with your people. You got to go out of your comfort zone.
I see it as some people are like scared. Remember when we was talking about a barbershop? Some people can't cut your hair. a
Dude,
certain
tell us
way.
about that.
So
You
My-
weren't even here when we talked about that.
my analogy on it is like it's like a cookout. Like for example, I go to a cookout and I'm not going to speak any race on it, but I go to a cookout and I see potato salad and I see little raisins in it. I'm not really going to get jiggy with that.
Why
I'm
not
not,
scooping that on the plate?
I'm not going to put that on my plate. But when you look around, there's different
And you would
diversity.
go,
There's different.
there's a white person here.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking around for that. You feel me?
Ham.
How crazy is
Why
that?
is that here?
This
But
Karen, she's up in here with a raisin potato salad.
But I see that there's so many different plates, and that's what makes that potluck, that makes that cookout, and that's where everybody has to pour in. If only one person cooking, like let's say you were cooking, you're not the best cook.
He makes a mean steak and cheese.
That's all he got.
That's all he's
If
got.
that's all he got.
That's bullcrap.
That's
That's
not
the only thing I've ever made.
like
you,
that's just
bro.
saying you only got the worship, but you ain't got the message. You don't got the community. You don't got everything else.
I mean, there's definitely
So,
different things that we're all better at. for
That's what I'm
sure.
saying. So everybody pours in. That's how the church is grown.
Yeah.
It's not just the building; it's the people.
Yeah.
So everybody pours in. That's where you start seeing different growth. If you go to a Haitian church, it's only one thing. You're not going to see it as growth. Every church I went to, I go to a lot of churches. Like I said, I check it out. And if it's only one community, you're not going to see growth because you can't really pour in only on your black community because you already filled it to its cap. And when you start pouring other people, you start inviting the white people, you start inviting the Hispanics, that's when you start seeing more. But with that, you got to understand what they like and add it to yours. Like, there's examples like worship, like you said earlier. Some churches like mine, we're spirit-led. Well, I can't even say spirit-led. We don't have a time frame.
Yeah.
Church can go for an hour,
Why?
30 minutes.
Why did you just say maybe it's not spirit led? Why?
That's an interesting switch up.
But how can I say? How can I say?
Because spirit led, that's a style. Like
Yeah.
you just said that to categorize the style,
Mhm.
but then you just fixed it. I think maybe because why did you?
I
just
was
make
gonna
that?
add on because like sometimes in my church, at a Haitian church, it'll be an hour and 30 minutes, and sometimes it's 3 hours long for some odd reason.
Yeah.
It's like it just goes on for a little bit longer than usual. So that's how I see it as. Anybody else want to chime in on the cookout? You can.
I think some churches say they're spirit led and it's freaking emotion led, bro.
That's what it is.
I'm saying that as a worship lead, as a worship pastor, and that's not black white. That's
Yeah.
across the board, bro.
Yeah.
I think it happens more in smaller churches than larger churches, just because the larger churches they may have another service or another campus, or like there's a ton of people here. We got to respect people's times. We got 400 kids in a room, whatever. Like you gotta be a little bit more structured. But I also think that I don't think churches that aren't structured do grow. I think they'll grow to a certain point, but there'll be a cap, and that cap is way lower than if you have some structure and do things in decency and in order. Surprise, surprise, what the freaking scripture says.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying that by letting the Holy Spirit lead in a moment is out of that can be done in decency and in order as well. But if it's happening every single week and it's the same lady getting delivered every single time, and it's the same dude standing up and having an interpretation of tongues, if it's the same thing every week, I think that's you're leaning into
It
emotion.
leads me to that just ideas as we grow as believers and Christians, who is church for? I think sometimes we stay in church so long because we think just church is for us.
Yeah.
And we hold church to the standard where we're going to get something out of it.
Right.
Fill my cup.
Yeah.
And we realize that as we grow in our walk, that it's your self-discipline, it's your self-feeding ability, it's what you're doing during the week to connect with the Father to grow, so that when it comes to a Sunday, that new souls can be added to the kingdom, and that we are in a place where we're leading small groups, you're young adults, you're leading youth and kids, and you're realizing, hey, I am helping people advance steps and to get further and further away from hell.
Right.
Something we say at Discover Life Church all the time is we're going to love the hell out of you. For so many people, like it's offensive. A lot of people have taken that as an
we
offensive
like
thing.
to say that because it makes church people and Pharisees mad.
Yeah.
I like when
But it's
he
so
said
true.
hell,
It's
and then they have to think about it, and it's like, oh yeah, actually that is what.
Because like we also say, we're not just going to walk with you to the altar, we're going to walk with you from the altar.
Yeah.
And a place I want to go this next conversation, you can jump in here. As young black men in America and in the Christian church, what is kind of your view of your peers and what they think of church? And if there was a young listener listening who may look like you, what is something that you want them to understand about just getting plugged into the local church in general?
Man, I feel like my peers, the biggest thing why they don't plug into churches or the Christian faith is they believe the Christian church is a white man religion. Like I have so many different conversations. Just some of my friends is like, why are you believing in that? Like they use that to oppress us. Like in different conversations, I go to the same rabbit hole. But after talking to some of them, at least one of them I know now he's saved, and just explained is like, yo, like the first Bible, if you go look at it, you can see it's in Ethiopia. Like this didn't originate just with the Europeans. Like that's not how the Bible was originated. But I think we're so caught up on the skin color and another weapon that the enemy is using to just divide us, that I struggle with just speaking to people that just want to serve God because they believe Jesus is black, and it's like it doesn't matter what color he is. If he was green, I would still serve him the same way because it's not his skin color, it's his character why I'm serving him. And just trying to walk people through that and explain it. Like, yes, I believe he had brown skin and I believe he's darker, but it doesn't matter to me his skin color at all.
Yeah.
So walking people through that is just the biggest like milestone I'm running into.
Yeah, that's so true. How about you, Matt? Kind of like what's maybe even just here at our church or your friend group, why is it so hard for it's not a color thing. But as a church, we are multicultural, and we see kind of in the age demographic that you are in, people are more of just kind of readers of the word and they're not doers of the word. And at a young age, when you kind of form your identity in Christ, what are some of the hurdles you've had to? What are the hurdles you've had to overcome that some people may still need to overcome?
The biggest thing that pops in my mind is the desires. Understanding when you go to Christ, your desires are done. You sacrifice your life for Christ. He's the Lord of your life. He's your master. And I go evangelizing on weekends, so I see it every single day. I always ask these questions. What's causing you not to fully surrender? People always tell me they're lustful, they still like partying, they still like drinking, they like smoking, because that's where they find their peace. And that's why I started understanding, how can I reach them? How can I speak to them in these situations? So what I usually do when I talk to them, I ask them, where is it getting rooted from? It always roots from something. You're smoking for a reason. You're not just smoking shit to smoke to be fun.
Yeah.
You're holding something that's in you. You're trying to escape something in
Suppress
your
or
heart.
escape, yeah.
So I always get to it's like, do you have any family issues? Do you have a breakup? What is it? And that's where it gets to it.
You're finding common ground with
Yeah,
people.
you're getting to that root. Because for me, why I was doing all those things is because I was in pain. I was depressed because of my pops, relationships, all these things, and it came from a root of something. And that's where God comes in. But you have to understand, to get there, you got to acknowledge it first, then ask God to take it from you. You got to give it to Him. But a lot of people don't fully understand that. They look at it as like, oh, I know, I believe, but you're not a doer at all. You're not going to see change, you're just believing.
No, that's good. Do you have anything to add to that before I ask another question?
Oh, dude, I have so many thoughts on what you said and then also what you said.
Hit it.
And this is my problem, dude.
Yeah.
We're talking about the black church and the white church, and I'm just freaking talking. So I have to be careful.
80-20.
Right. So one of the things that you talked about was the white man's religion, and this has been used to oppress us. Just FYI, white people, it has been. Like,
Dude, there's
That's
people right
actually-
now saying, that is ridiculous.
that's actually not. Your friends are not wrong.
All cops are nice.
In
It's
the-
like they just
Now, in the African American history, yes, Christianity was also used to pillage Europe, and Christianity was also used to justify all kinds of atrocities
Yeah.
in human history. So, and I believe what the conclusion that you've come to and your friend has come to now, it's like that's not God. That doesn't change God's character and who He is. Like, people will use religion as an oppressive tool, but I don't believe that religion was created for that purpose. Christianity, I do not believe, was created for that purpose. I do believe that it was taken advantage of and used, for sure, to oppress people. And I think it is still used to oppress people. The good thing about the United States is you have the freedom. No one is forcing you to go to the Jehovah's Witness temple if you grew up there. You can leave. A lot of people stay there because they know if they leave, they're no longer going to be able to talk to their family. They're leaving all they've ever known and all the traditions. So some people will stay in a place where they're not really sure if they believe. But if I mean, I have friends who have left Jehovah's Witness and they
excommunicated.
they lost everything. Even their own parents were no longer permitted to speak to them. Like, so if that's the decision, the oppression is not like a legal law. It's being used to oppress people even now. Now, when it comes to slavery, Pastor Ken just talked about it, and I was kind of like, that verse doesn't mean anything to me. I don't have history of slavery, and at least that I'm aware of. So okay, I need to look at not African American. My ancestors didn't come to America as slaves. That's what I mean. Okay, so if that's the case, I'm not thinking about it. It's not in the forefront of my mind. I skim over that scripture.
Yeah, the revelation has hit you.
Well, then I'm thinking about it. I'm like, okay, well, maybe I should look into that. And there's scriptures talking about slaves and slavery. And Pastor Ken's correct. The context was the Roman slave, which I believe 1/3 of people living in the Roman Empire were not civilians, they were slaves. And it doesn't mean that you couldn't have a house. It didn't mean that you couldn't have a family. It was not the same. It was not like, hey, we literally captured you from your village and we're putting you on a boat and you're now livestock. That was not. So that is not necessarily condoned by scripture. It was being warped and twisted to oppress slaves and tell them, look, even God tells you you should be obedient to us. Like the master slave scenario that Jesus uses, or that the apostles used to reach people in the Roman Empire, was a way to communicate the relationship of what you're talking about. Your desires are now submitted to God's desires. You no longer do what you want to do, but you are willingly submitting to Him. In that sense, like, Christianity is not a democracy, it is a monarchy. Well, I don't freaking want to be ruled by a king. Like I do not want a king to tell me where I can put my house and what I can and can't do. But technically, that is what you're doing when you submit to God. You're no longer doing what you want to do.
Yeah.
You're saying, okay, God, you'll rule and you're the king.
Yeah.
I literally just commented on one of our videos about Ethiopia. You said Ethiopia.
Yeah.
At the same time that Christianity was being brought to the Greeks, Matthew was carrying it to Ethiopia. And yeah, some of the oldest written scriptures that we have where there were probably monks or people who were studying the epistles and compiling them into books were in Ethiopia. So some of the most advanced scholars of the old world were Africans, and like the Christianity came to Africa at the same time it was taken to Spain. Like technically Christianity didn't go to the Anglo-Saxons until way after it was already in Ethiopia. The American church is like a different version of Christianity
The Western Church.
because of the stuff that we're talking about, and it has been used to oppress minorities.
Which is a good segue
Yeah, okay, go.
to just of when you think of just the Western Church here in America.
Yeah.
And when you try to just when you think of the division of church.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things to talk about with a lot of people, we have this conversation all the time of kind of vanity, but also in the sense of wearing your Sunday's best. And also kind of, I'm sure the churches you've been through, maybe some of the churches you've been through, and even the churches I've been through, we tend to say, oh, we got to come with our Sunday's best. Now, to a degree, we still do have a version of that because we do kind of, to a degree, take pride in what we wear and we want to be stylish. Not all of us. Some of us don't care as much.
Dude, that is my style.
That shirt's draped. My fault.
It's a look. It's a look.
It's a look. You look like a skateboarder.
Okay.
It's cool. But
This is racist.
But what are your thoughts?
This is
what
racist.
are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on that of just like this idea, especially in the Black and Hispanic church?
Oh yeah, for sure.
You need to come to God with your best and maybe raise that way and how you maybe.
Yeah, I don't think I can dress how I dress going to my parents' church. Like no hat.
Yeah, you can't put the hat on.
No way I can wear a hat.
Yeah.
Like I'm disrespecting God by wearing a hat.
Yeah.
Shirt has to be polo. You can probably wear jeans.
Needs to have
Today-
collars. You gotta have
Yeah.
collars.
2025,
for sure.
you
You
get
can
jeans in?
probably wear jeans. You can go jeans. Probably no rips.
Yeah.
Maybe a little rips, but shoes for sure. But I don't think I can wear just a tee, a graphic tee, jeans, and a hat and worship there.
Mm.
And that's always been something where I didn't understand because that's what I normally wear.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I wear that Monday through Saturday, and I worship God Monday through Sunday. So it's like I have to dress differently on Sunday, and I never understood that. Like it doesn't feel authentic to me.
Yeah.
It feels like I'm trying to be something else.
Yeah.
And it's like, do I have to wear that for the rest of the week? Like I asked these serious questions to myself, like when I got saved, because I was trying to erase everything that I knew.
Mm.
Because I feel
That's
like a lot of
interesting,
stuff I knew was different, or I had like a little haze of understanding, but I didn't understand it fully. So I would say a big difference from the Black churches is not being able to just dress how I want to dress, like freely.
Yeah.
Like hats, like just a regular shirt and jeans.
Unless you're a woman, then the hat is
Oh, yeah.
like.
That's
bring a
the
hat.
weird part. You
Yes.
can't,
Right?
yeah.
Yes.
No brim though. You can't wear like a brim with us. It has to be.
It
like,
can't be.
fancy.
No, this is a church hat. for
Yeah.
sure. Well, what is? I wanted to ask you, like, what would it be like? Because you're saying that I couldn't. That's because like it's your family, right? So you wouldn't want to. You know that your parents wouldn't want you to do that, so you wouldn't. What if somebody came in? Let's say, looks like you,
Yeah.
African American, but for whatever reason they don't come with the church clothes.
Yeah.
Are they still going to be welcome the same? You think?
I think they'll be welcome the same, but they'll expect him to dress differently.
Like someone is
They'll
going to
expect some
say
type
something.
of change.
Do you
Yeah,
think
some
somebody
type
is going to say something to them like, "Hey, if you come next week, you probably want to"?
I think eventually it'll be like, hey man, you've been here for a while.
Okay, so not right away.
Not right away.
I can chime
That's
in on
good.
that. For my church, we had to come long sleeve polo.
5-piece.
You got literally a 5-piece, man. You got to make sure you look good.
Yeah.
So one of my friends, Josh, that used to come to my church, he speak no Creole. He don't speak not a single dime. He used to come to my church, and he came with shorts, a little collar up shirt, and walked in. and they looked at him in a certain way, and I was like, "Hey, I'm sorry. I told you to put it on. Put it on for a regular church, but my church, they look at you and they like, I'm telling you, they condemn you. They look you up and down and be like, But if I came to my church looking like that, even my mom even asked me, she said, "You going to church like that?" I'm like,
Right.
"Yeah." What you mean? You're not serious?
So your friend, you bring a friend to church and he's not wearing the right thing and he gets treated differently.
In a way, yeah. It's weird, bro.
I experienced that in my church too. It was a white church. I think maybe what's happened is like you just said, and you could maybe wear jeans in black church. Bro, that surprises me because it's still rare to see it.
Yeah.
But all the white churches, most small churches, they've basically like moved into a place of like, we're not going to hold it against somebody if they're not dressed right.
Yeah.
But that does seem to still be being happening. And I'm sure there are some white churches that are like that. But the church I'm thinking of, I had friends that came in with tattoos,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it was like
Yeah.
problem. Same church now, 15 years later, bro, it wouldn't be a problem at all. I don't think they would care. I think you could even wear a hat. And that's not this church, it's the church I grew up in. Much more traditional. But I think they've caught on with the idea is like, no, this whole like Sunday best thing, it got turned into something that it shouldn't have been.
Where did this stem from, though? Like,
It's funny. So I've actually been
I
in conversations.
have an idea.
I've been in some conversations with older black men in our church.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the earliest times of what they were saying was that was your moment one for community. So Sunday became the place where you could have community with others of your color because during the week there was so much segregation. So the church was this one place where unity was a thing. So one, that's why church services were longer.
Right.
And also two, it was that time to shine and kind of show off that look because you see it till this day. You go to a certain restaurant, if I go to Longhorns after church, 9 out of 10 times there is always a black family, 5-piece suit, vest, tie, they're looking fresh all the time.
I'll take it further. You come look at this parking lot during a white funeral, and come look at this apartment during look at this parking lot during a black funeral. The nicest cars are in the black funeral. Like and not just nice cars, it's flashy, dude. Like and we talked about this because I'm saying to Anthony and Pastor Dave, I know a lot of these people and like what their background is. How do they have that car? I asked Pastor Dave and Anthony, what's up with this? And they said a lot of that is just because there was a time where we could never have these things.
Yeah.
Like we could not afford it. And a lot of black culture is around like, hey, we have nice stuff. And it's because there was a time where you could not. So it's like a way of, we made it. Like I got a Rolex, you know, I got a freaking Lexus. I'm driving a Cadillac. Like those things that were looked at as like,
Out of reach.
right, you're now able to achieve that. And so the culture, it's a sometimes it's a false sign, but the signal is success.
Yeah.
Like we're doing good. You know?
And also, real quick, for the jerk commenters are going to comment and respond to you, they don't realize that working on staff at church, the calls we're getting, the requests we're getting,
Yeah.
and then you realize it's like, doesn't that person sometimes you just start to wonder what decisions we make, but it goes both ways. It goes both ways. So people who sometimes don't understand
Yeah.
that this whole idea of outward perception is kind of where a lot of people are at. Doesn't matter where their skin tone is.
Yeah.
But we're just choosing to highlight on the ethnicity shown in this room. And it's one of those things where the intentions, I believe, are always well.
Yeah.
I believe they're always well. But then you also just have to be honest with where culture is. And typically, I mean, when you look at,
What do you mean intentions are always well?
I believe the
Because
intentions
I think
are
you can have the wrong intentions.
well,
do you mean?
no, because I believe that. I mean, I just believe that
In what context? Like,
in the context of what they wear, what they drive, how they do it, their intentions are of what that is sometimes of like, hey, I can't afford this, or I'm at a place now where I can't have this. I put the time in, I work for a wage. I
Yeah.
can do what I want to do. Like, it's my money. I can do what I want to do.
You give people. I think that is not true for all of them.
No, I'm not. But I can't say
Because
that for everyone.
I've seen families. Then this is not a black white thing. I think a lot of people want to try to put a front on, and they'll try to. Their intention is, like we were saying, vanity, and it's like I'm trying to be something. I gain my identity and my value based on, like, am I wearing the nice clothes? Do I have the nicest shoes? Like,
But you also just,
So-
when you grow up and you realize that you can get a fit off on any budget and you can figure stuff out
Yeah.
because you're going to be creative. That's what I mean, though, with the people, especially when we're just talking about the people in the local church, the people who are serving.
Yeah.
And because it does happen, also you get to the point in life where you really do understand what you were kind of saying earlier. It's like when you submit yourself to life, like, your desires are gone. So if God is to say, hey, get rid of this or do that, you will be obedient to a degree, where some people's identity has been rooted in this and getting the chain or getting the status or having the job or having the girl or whatever it looks like.
Right.
So just what is the other hurdle that you guys believe is something that is kind of holding back young adults into stepping into that next phase of life, maybe in a multicultural church? You guys see it. You guys have friends outside of the church. What are some of those conversations like of why people are hesitant to kind of give their life to Christ and start making the changes that happens with following Christ?
You got it, Ben?
I feel like the biggest roadblock they have is they're so used to seeing one type of Christian and they have in their mind that they're going to turn corny.
Oh, yeah.
And they're afraid of being corny.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So they don't want to be a Christian. They don't want to read their Bible. They think it's lame. They think what the world is offering, that's the fun part. They can't have fun anymore. Like, I can't be a Christian and have fun. That's what in their mind they believe. But which is so far from the truth. Like, you actually get freedom.
Yeah.
You get life. Like, you're free from things, but they don't know they're stuck in strongholds and bondage. So where the sexual gratification that they're in is like, they're okay with it, but they don't know they're a slave to it.
Wow.
Steve.
I mean,
Interesting. That's
especially because we were just talking about, like, the biblical metaphor of slavery. It's like you can be a slave to your sin.
Yeah.
Or you can be a slave to Christ. Like, a slave to God is totally different, because that's really freedom. That's heavy, bro. Because I think a lot of it's deception ultimately.
Yeah.
Like, because the people are, especially in America, or many of the people, they know about Jesus. It's not like if there's an Amazonian tribe somewhere that if we were to go right now and tell them about Jesus, they will have no clue what we're talking about, and it could change. Like, it could they would reshape their society potentially, because they've never heard of this story of this Messiah who could take my sin away. They don't know anything about that.
Yeah, they're not aware what they're doing.
If you're in
It's
America, you know who Jesus is. You know what Christianity is. You know what churches are.
It's a white blonde guy with blue eyes.
Yeah, exactly. Well, whatever
That's
your
what every picture is.
somebody has their version of what Jesus is to them, and because of
My
that,
Jesus.
and especially if you grew up in church, which is another thing that we were talking about. I think if you're an African American in America, there's probably a higher chance that you have been to church as a kid than a white family. I think a lot of white families. Well, I don't want to jump into that just yet. Hold on. What?
Oh, no, jump into it.
Well,
I'm kidding.
what I'm saying is, I think that, frick, dude, what was I talking about right before that?
Growing up and being taken to church.
Yeah, the blacks
Yeah.
and the whites.
Oh, you have your perception of Jesus. You have your perception of Jesus. So you're not gonna go to your friends and tell them about Jesus and then be like, I had no idea. So they're in deception that, like, that thing that they know, they haven't had, like, a real encounter with God. And ultimately, that's if we were to all sit here and talk about what was the ultimate decision, like, I experienced God for the first time, like, in a real tangible way. He said something to me. I felt his presence. He did something, and I could no longer ignore the fact that he's here and he's moving and he's actually doing something, and I want to be connected to him.
Yeah.
They haven't had that. And the enemy will keep people in the place of deception so long as they're distracted so that they don't have that. And it's interesting because usually the enemy will get to keep doing it, but eventually they'll freaking hit rock bottom. There is no lower low that the enemy can take them. And that's usually when God
shows up.
kind of does his best work, where he says, "Oh, raise a child up in the way they should go, they will not depart from it." I don't understand that scripture because I see people depart from it all the freaking time. But I think maybe, I don't know, you'd have to look at the original translation, and we're the dumb saints here, we're not scholars, so I'd have to look into it.
I started
But what I have seen true is that kids who grew up in it, when they get to that rock bottom, they go back. Like they remember. They have a foundation.
Yeah.
Okay, I know I still have, there's that, what about that church thing? What about Jesus? What about God? And they go back to that. Yeah.
Because one thing, I noticed in a lot of the black community, they were raised up in church. So, but they always have that lukewarm thing. Like, I was raised in church and I strayed off. And I see that in a lot of the black community for some odd
Because
reason.
church is just a Sunday thing.
Yeah.
In certain cultures.
And I peeped that a lot. But why is that, though?
Why do you, okay.
You want to know
Why?
why I believe that?
Why is it, you're talking about like people living a double life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like there are pastors who are preaching and people in the church know that he's cheating on his wife with other women in the church. Like, how is that allowed? I personally, dude, I don't know. I don't understand it.
Well, I think because I think I know, especially when you build because one, when this is the problem with Spanish, black, and I can't speak to white churches, but Spanish and black churches, so many people want to become pastors and start their own church because of disagreement or something they don't like. So they will create division in their own church and go start another church. Jump in.
I think the reason why is people mistake gift and fruit. So because the pastor can speak so eloquently,
Yeah.
they're willing to stay. They're willing to see what he says, but he's not showing any fruit, and we're not judging them by the fruit. So it's like, but he speaks so well, and I feel something. And it's like he just
We've
praying on
associated,
the emotional like standpoint of it. It's like it's no fruit there.
I just remembered something that Anthony told me. I wish we talked about it with him. So I'll tell the story. It would have been better for him to say it, but there's a church in this area, and we were communicating with them, and basically in the email they responded and say, "You will call the pastor by this title, and if you don't respect that, like they've been placed, you need to respect the office." Basically corrected us in an email because the person who was typing the email, who by the way was just like an assistant, just like a random, this was not Pastor Ken or even one of the pastors. It's just a person trying to set up a meeting or something. And they said the pastor's name and said, "Oh, so-and-so, would this work?" or whatever. The person responds and says, "You will call me." It would be like Pastor Ken be like in the email, "Hey Ken, let me know if that works for you." And Pastor Ken said, "I am Pastor Ken, and you must refer to me as Pastor Ken, and if you don't, then we're not going to be able to work together. You're going to respect my title." Now, this minister was an African American and was a woman. That's important to note because when I asked Pastor Anthony, I'm like, "Bro, what the freak?" That is crazy to me to imagine because Pastor Ken would never do that. I would never do that. And nobody I work with would ever do that. Now I tell Anthony and he's like not surprised. He grew up in an African American church. His dad is a pastor in this area.
A bishop.
His dad is a bishop. So he's like a pastor of pastors. He's a seasoned preacher, bishop, and Anthony has served under that. So he knows a lot of the stuff that we're talking about
He can preach.
from many different perspectives. So he has a lot of wisdom. He's a genius when it comes to this stuff at helping me understand. So he says, I'm not condoning it, not saying it's okay, but the reason why I think that's happening is because if you are number one, African American, and number two, a woman, being in a place of authority is like impossible for you. Like for you to be, that person would have had to have fought so many battles
Yeah. Just to get
just for someone to use the title,
acknowledge them. Yeah.
right?
As they.
So it's like they're still fighting those battles. in my opinion, I don't think it was a battle to be fought with us. Like, it just seems weird. It's foreign. And Pastor Anthony saying in this culture. And it just made me think, because we're asking, well, why would the pastor be allowed to do this? Why would somebody talk like that, et cetera, et cetera? I remember Anthony saying, there is a huge significance on honor in black churches and honoring the pastor. And we do that in white churches too, but not to the extent that black churches do.
Or Hispanic,
I've
same
heard
thing,
stories
yeah.
of bishops with guys. You hear stories about the armor bearers. You got the towel guys.
Yeah.
You got dudes who are in the car making sure that the AC's on, so before the pastor comes out of his house, it's already at the right temperature. And nobody's forcing them to do that. Maybe a pastor asked him, which I think is weird, but the fact that people are willing to do it shows that there is this huge emphasis on honoring the pastors. Why? Because who the freak else was in our society honoring black men and black women? Within our community, the authority of honoring leaders who are pastoring and leading well was something that our society rejected. Minorities were not elevated. We had a black president in 2008. Before that, it had never happened. That's crazy. So obviously, I think within church, there was this good thing of like, let's honor the leaders.
Yeah.
And then the enemy has twisted it. I think that's probably what it is.
Are they scared of like confrontation for those issues?
What do you mean?
Like, cause you said, oh, a pastor, he's only there for Sunday, then the rest of the week he's doing whatever he wants.
Okay, so I think it's this thing where the honor has been placed in to the extreme, where you're walking into a lobby and there's like a huge
You believe
portrait.
the pedestal you get put on.
There's like thrones on the stage for the pastors, for the
Dude, that
bishops.
annoys me in Spanish church.
Right.
That literally still to this day in my grandma's church here in Palm Bay, the church people sit here, the pastor and his wife sit on the stage during worship.
Yeah.
Like almost like they're above. And this is just what happens and this is why I think church hurt is such a huge thing in our culture, and why so many people will create division and go start their church down the street and take people, which I was trying to say earlier before you hijacked what I was saying, and I don't appreciate that. Because what I just dislike about the segregation of a Sunday is it goes back to the idea of church is for me, church is for us, church is for people like me. And we stop looking at the mission of the Bible and the mission of Jesus and the 12 disciples of going out and making disciples.
That's what the church is supposed to be.
But the church has
It's
become
supposed to be
such
the beacon for the world.
When you look at churches and when you look at also now celebrity pastors.
Can I interrupt you if I'm
Yeah.
agreeing with you?
Yes.
Okay, good. Because I interrupted you, but then I was like, man, maybe he's mad about that too.
But when you just look at right now, like in our
Exactly.
time, celebrity pastors,
Amen.
and there's so many
Right.
that you could just think of off the top of your head who are white and who are black. You know, the white ones will judge the black ones for certain things, and the black ones will judge the white things for completely different things.
I mean, bro, we're doing it even now as we're talking. I think we're judging in a healthy way, but we're kind of saying like, hey, look at that and look at
Well,
that.
because ultimately what we're trying to say is we need to put our differences aside.
Yes.
We got to come together.
Take the best things from the different ones.
Sure.
Please give me the black music. I don't want the white church music.
What? Unless it's the Indiana Pentecostal church movement.
See, that's well, now that
You know who they are?
they're heretics,
You know.
but
That's crazy that you said.
I'm just kidding. I'm not kidding. I do think a lot of what they believe is heretical. I just listened to a course about their movement, and I found out some things that they believe, and it's crazy. But Indiana Bible College, they are a bunch of white people that actually play
They're nasty.
gospel music pretty well,
They're nasty.
which is surprising because usually white people can't do it very well.
All right, let's pivot. And let's think of just some practical stuff.
Hold on, I wanted to ask
Okay.
something. You
Backtrack.
grew up with a mom and a father, both in ministry.
Mm-hmm.
My wife is the daughter of pastors
From
from Australia, and there's some different things there
Hello,
too.
Governor.
It's very similar to our
That's
churches.
British.
Yeah, that's okay.
racist.
G'day, mate. That's how you say. G'day, mate. So I'm curious what kind of similarities and differences that she might have experienced, or that a kid growing up in a white church with white parents who were ministers as opposed to an African American church. What's it like the toll on the family leading a church in a black
That is a
church
good question.
or black family?
I don't think it was that bad for me personally,
Mhm.
only because whenever my dad would preach,
Yeah.
he would just probably go into his room, be there for about 6, 7 hours. My mom just taking care of us.
Yeah.
So, but after you would see he's tired,
Yeah.
he wants to just go home, go to sleep.
Right.
Like he's poured out so much. But same thing with my mom. Like she would literally like starve herself and not eat because
Yeah.
she wants to like get the word and get it
Mhm.
out. But then after she's like tired. So even when I see it's like, man, I don't want to preach the word. That's like a lot of energy.
Burden.
Like, yeah, I don't want to do that. It's a lot. Then I'm seeing what it does to your body. Like, it's like, I don't want to do it. I'm
Yeah.
scared of it.
Yeah.
You know?
I like that you had that example, because they weren't like acting like it was easy. What you just described, I think, is a healthy way to carry the burden of bringing the word.
Yeah.
Like, of course, it needs to be sustainable. That's
Yeah.
that's the power of a Sabbath. Like, you need to rest for sure. But other people who are like just copying another preacher's sermon and it's all easy and fun and it's like it's almost like a performative thing. That's dangerous.
Yeah.
I like that your parents kind of had, it seemed like they really felt the weight of the responsibility they had.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing.
No.
What about like people? Because my wife would have like people showing up at their house late at night,
Man.
taken away from time that they would have as family because they were dealing with other families' crisis.
So my parents are both ministers. They weren't pastors, but they were like, I guess you would say associate pastors.
Yeah.
You would have people call late at night.
Yeah.
Or they wouldn't necessarily show up, but it's definitely because or we're always in church.
Yeah.
So I think growing up from first grade to like maybe ninth grade, my Sundays were I'm in church
Yeah.
for 10, 14 hours.
Yeah.
Like just sitting there by myself.
Dang.
They're having a meeting or whatever. I'm just sitting by myself.
No
bored.
iPads back then.
No iPads. No
Dude.
iPads. Nothing. I missed so many basketball tournaments just because I had to go to church. You know. Eventually, they started letting me go to a couple when they're important.
Yeah.
But no, it was a good mix. I would say most of my Sundays were gone though. I couldn't
Yeah.
do anything on Sunday.
Yeah.
At all.
That's gonna be a thing for my kids too, probably.
It's
Like
funny.
Sunday's a big
It's
day.
funny.
so I'm
Alex
like-
texted the other day. We were talking on Wednesday, and I was like, "Oh, I mean, don't your kids have jujitsu?" He was like, "Jujitsu's not come before church."
Yeah.
That's literally what he texted back.
Well, it is. Here's why. Because before I had kids, I would see people like, they're missing church because their kids have a game, and I'm like,
It's like that's
I
flag
go like this.
football.
I'm like,
It's T-ball.
I would never. And now I have kids, and I'm like, I see why. But now I freaking made it a thing. So they are not skipping church. We're freaking gonna be here. But
All right. Well, I wanted to pivot
Yeah.
because I do want to pivot because
how long have we been talking?
I don't know, but this is a good pivot here because the Yankees are winning 5-0 in Kansas City, and that's important for
Oh,
us
my
and for the morale of the next portion.
Okay.
Because one, it's cool, and I want you guys to take a moment because I've had conversations with both of you. You guys both believe that you're definitely called to ministry to some degree, and you could definitely see yourself in ministry to some degree. So I would love for you guys to take a moment, since we get like 30,000 views on TikTok and all that stuff, so we don't know
Okay.
who's gonna see this, but maybe inspire that 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old young black male.
Huge range.
Well, I don't know. I don't know when it starts. I'm just saying.
say
But take that moment and
teenagers and
inspire
young
them in a
adults.
sense of why you feel that way and what that looks like. Obviously, you're still trying to figure it out, but just the path you're on and the way you want to live your life and possibly where you see yourself and, just some of the goals you have in ministry.
I'm gonna word it away. You worded it to me. Is there something that you wish you would have said to 16-year-old Matt?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Not
Grow your head out, grow your dreads sooner.
truthfully, I wish I have, because I look crazy in like middle school and stuff. But we ain't gonna speak about that. But one thing I would say to
You
my
gotta glow up,
Oh,
heck yeah, bro.
dude. I need to. I'm
Don't-
putting a picture
don't.
in this
no,
video.
you don't need to do that.
We got the pictures in the chat.
Send it to me.
No,
dude.
you're in the chat.
Oh, good. I'm gonna. Get it.
No, you was in the chat. I don't need to speak about that. But
It's
one
okay.
thing I could say, it's just I didn't have a full relationship with God at 16, so I was living a worldly life. But if I can tell my 16-year-old self, even though I don't regret anything from my past, because it made me who I am today.
Nice.
But one thing I could say is just don't let the world judge you or make you who you are. Make God make you who you are. So you seek His counsel and everything that He is, and make him your boss of your life early, as soon as possible. That's why I do kids ministry, because you pour that into them now. When they walk in the world, when they have trials and tribulations, that stuff wouldn't be able to affect them if they know their identity in Christ.
Yeah.
So if I told myself my identity in Christ at 16, man,
You would have saved yourself from a lot of hurt and bad decisions.
For sure, 100%. That's
What
how I see it.
would you tell?
Man, I think 16-year-old me, I was feeling myself with vanity, and I would tell myself it's not worth it. Like, you can't take any of that with you in the afterlife.
Right.
The only thing that's important is your relationship with Christ and getting to know Him and having that peace that I have now. Because if I was 16 and I'm saying, or imagine myself 8, 9 years later, I probably wouldn't imagine myself here.
Right.
But I probably wouldn't have the peace and the joy I have. So I would tell myself that none of it matters. The only thing that's important is you're loved by God. And because of your love by God, just serve Him. And press deeper into Him.
Yeah.
That's what I would tell my 16-year-old self.
Something I always keep in mind, I mean, I'm about to be 31 in 4 hours. As I just look back on my long life and all the wisdom I've accumulated over my life, it's just this idea of I just want to be more intentional than ever to raise up young leaders and to raise up people. I'm like, you know it. I am so intentional on multiculturalism. Like, I am so intentional on it. I teach chapel here at the school, and I make sure that there's a white speaker, a brown speaker, a black speaker constantly, because I want the kids to have that level of common ground so that they don't just associate Christianity or the Bible with something.
Because the school is not all white.
Exactly.
So you have to have
be able to
different people they can connect to and relate.
And some people would be like, oh, well, God, yes, of course, God is big and God can hit anyone. But why not take the easy, natural steps we can do to create an environment and a level of comfort? So something I'm always keeping my eye on are people who have, one, influence, and two, people who love the Lord in an authentic way. And that's why I feel like my relationship with these guys have been growing, because, one, I understand that they understand how important it is to pour into the next generation. And without, I mean, something we talk about so much is, we've talked about it not in a while, but man, where's the church going to be in 15, 20 years? And that's kind of something where I thought of when we went to this podcast today. Man, what is your view of what church is going to be like in 15 to 20 years with what you see now and what maybe your peers and what maybe people you've been with or your parents or leaders, whatever, that have kind of spoke over it that may not be a truth?
So in like 15 years, what I'm seeing right now in today's day and age with young adults, you see more multicultural. Like young adults, you can see it. Even at different churches, I can see it because they wasn't in segregation time.
Yeah, they're not
It wasn't
experiencing
into that racial separation. So you're going to see it more and more when you keep going into Christ. But I don't know how to explain it in a way where, how can I piece this? You gonna take it? I lost it.
It's hard for me sometimes to think about it because I sometimes think Jesus is coming back tomorrow. But without thinking that, I really think my generation in 15, 20 years where I want it to be is kind of where we're taking back art and creativity. And like, it's fun and cool to be Christian. Kind of like with the Renaissance was like all the famous art had like a religion identity behind it.
Yeah.
You know? But I think now we're getting back to it to where people are looking at Christian rappers like, oh, like, it's kind of cool to actually serve Jesus and you can rap and it actually sounds good. But even in art, because a lot of stuff I do is like film, photography, videography, and they're seeing other people who are outside of the words like, wow, bro, like your pictures are dope, or I like how you did that. Then we talk and now we're talking about God and they know it's cool. Like, you can be a Christian and cool.
Yeah.
So I think in 15 and 20 years, we're promoting the creativity that God has given us, and we're being diligent about that.
Yeah.
To where people are getting saved off of images, music, because it's so dope, and they didn't even realize it's Christian, but now it makes them want to dive deeper into it.
One thing he said was the music, because back then when I came to Christ, Christian music was whack. It was truthfully, it was horrible. I don't know how y'all feel about Lecrae. I was
You
not.
don't like Toby Mac?
No, trash. But
No, wait, Michael Tate, bro.
Michael
You
Tate.
haven't heard about Michael Tate?
No.
I might need to cut this out of the video.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Michael Tate was one of the members of DC Talk, and he is now the singer of the Newsboys.
Oh.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I actually do know you're
yeah.
That's
You
it.
heard about that?
mm-mm.
I think
mean,
he just came out now. He's fully gay.
Oh my gosh.
I just might have to cut
He
that out.
came out.
No, dude.
It was publicly it came out that he had sexually abused some guys and was also using drugs regularly in like the last 15 years of being in the Newsboys. And I think probably his whole life he's probably. But there was a 2-year investigation and they just released the findings. So yeah.
Way to hijack that, Alex.
But yeah, that's the way.
you
But
said Christian music was whack. Well, that was one of the guys that was doing it. Toby Mac and Michael Tate were
It's
together.
like the same about the pastors. Like, how do you let that happen?
Yeah, that is
Like,
wild.
it's like
bro.
the same thing with the pastors. We ask, like, how do you let that happen?
Oh, dude. I mean, you sit there and any scandal, there's always people that come out and be like, "This was we knew about this like for years." And like, whoa,
trying to
dude,
protect.
whoa. I
They're
don't.
trying to protect an image sometimes.
I
that's
think some
wrong.
people get so big, they have so much power and authority, they can quiet people, they can keep it hush hush. But dude, and I was literally sitting here thinking this, and I didn't know if I was gonna say it, but I'm glad you said it. I am so glad that the church is being exposed, bro.
That's so good.
I like it. I think it is a win. Some people in church Christian circles like, oh, we're under attack. It's like, nah, dude, this is like a refining. I love that the church is being exposed to the world. Yeah.
That's good because in Corinthians 5, it was talking about, the guy that was sleeping with his wife. Oh, well, his
Yeah.
stepmom.
Yeah.
Paul came in and exposed that. He said,
Oh,
cast him to the
100%.
devil.
Yeah.
So he may be saved. So
Yes.
it's like, why aren't we calling out people on their own sin sometimes? Not in a judging way, but in a way correction happens.
Yeah.
You feel me?
This has been the problem in America, and it's why it's referred to as the white man's religion, and it's why you've got like conservative Christian,
Movements.
like how somebody who's a Christian can vote for somebody who has all this terrible stuff about them, but because they're the party that the Christians are for, it's like all okay. All of this stuff is tied up in this. Christianity in the US went mainstream. Like it was mainstream to be a Christian. You are not a rebel if you are a Christian. Like American family values, all of that aligned with Christian values. Their homosexuality was frowned upon. It was frowned upon to get divorced. It was frowned upon to get pregnant outside of marriage. That was not church values. That was American values because Christianity had just become so popular and mainstream in America. Even the founding fathers were Christians in a lot of their philosophies. So even from the beginning, Christianity has been woven into it. Well, this is what the enemy has done, like tricked us into thinking, like basically tricked Christianity into being the main thing. Now it's no longer like cool because it's normal and everybody does it. And then it gets hijacked into these things where you got people who are living a double life, and like every part of Christianity becoming mainstream is actually a bad thing because it's all gray.
Yeah.
And Christianity is supposed to be light and darkness. And there is no light and darkness in America. It's like all gray. So like you can be a good person and not be a Christian because you have good family values. Or you can be a Christian and you can be in the United Methodist Church and be trans LGBTQ and preaching about how you coming out of the closet is the same as Jesus being resurrected from the tomb. Like crazy stuff. It's all gray. So I like that it's being exposed because this is what's going to happen. Our kids, this is what I think. You didn't ask me, I'm going to tell you. Maybe not 15 years,
you think
but 30. This is what I think. Our kids, if they're Christians, they're going to be way more serious about Christ than we were.
Oh, 100%, bro. Because there's this authentic.
They will have to.
Yeah.
You can't, like right now you say, hey, what religion are you? And a person may say, oh, I'm Muslim. If they have that background, or they may say, I'm a Christian. It's like picking their favorite color. But if our kids are Christ followers, they will be the rebels, dude. The reason why I think that is because the more black and white it is, the more dark the world becomes, the more we will stick out. Like we
We'll
will
be a light lamp on a hill.
exactly. And right now it's hard to be that in America because like I said, everybody knows about Jesus. Everybody has some version of it. It's all black and white, and I think that has been the enemy's strategy of keeping Americans from having the same kind of revivals we see in other countries is because we don't look
We're
different
not-
enough.
Well, dude, just in America, we're not in need of a savior the right way.
You have everything you need.
We have just conditioned ourselves to figure out, like, build your dream, build your future,
Yeah.
work hard at it, you can get it. And to some degree, there's so much truth there for people because you see Christians who are struggling to pay bills, and you see people of the world who are throwing money left and right.
Oh, yeah.
And people just have this wrong idea. But that's why the narrow path is so many few people take it.
Right.
And that's why the road to hell is just this massive highway because it's so easy to get there and the convenience. But as you're right, as we do raise our kids, and as you guys are in community with people your age and younger, it is so important to realize that that authentic level and reverence of Christ is coming back. And you are starting to see it in more and more people because we're coming to a time where I believe, like you, I've had this fear sometimes, like, man, I may never see my kids past a certain age because when you know the word and you see what's going on in the world, you realize there's coming a time where this fun-loving Jesus that we all associate with is not the one who's coming back. It is the one who's full of wrath, and he's coming back with a flaming sword.
Same Jesus,
Same Jesus,
different goal and agenda.
but it's exactly.
Yeah.
And he's coming back for his church, his bride, and we have a responsibility as leaders in the local church here in Brevard County or wherever we end up to make sure that we are teaching the gospel the right way and having authentic community and allowing people to grow.
Yeah. You heard the term Armageddon.
Yeah.
You know that the battle in Armageddon, it says that the valley will be filled with blood to the bridle of a horse.
It's a lot of blood.
The valley will be filled up. So think about a horse, where the bridle is, will be filled to the horse's bridle with blood.
That's crazy.
So that's the Dumb Saints
Is
podcast.
is that a metaphor or is that?
Uh,
I had a friend one time. This is crazy, and we're
you gonna end it with
we're
this?
closing it down. Well, no, but we don't have to. But I had a friend who told me, he's like, sometimes I wish I wasn't saved. And I was like, why? He's like, because I don't want Jesus to take me when he comes back. I want to be in the battle. I'm like, dude, that's freaking crazy, bro. I don't know about it. Like, he wants to fight for God, dude. I'm like, I think if you want it,
Then
maybe
do it
he'll let
now.
you go. Come on,
Do it
dude.
with your life.
Do it now. Do it with your life. No, he wanted to like slice some people for Jesus. He was born in the wrong time. He would probably been in the Crusades or something, bro. That's freaking messed up. No, but I like having the perspective of not so much in the end times where you're like, oh, this is happening right now. That's the five-headed dragon, and I think that's pointless because no one knows the exact details and what it means. But I do think having the posture of like Jesus has come back at any time, this has to be a priority.
Yeah.
If you knew you had one day before Jesus was going to come back, what would you do with that 24 hours?
It's a good question for everyone to answer and to close.
I want to
If you're white, hopefully you'd go to dinner with a black family. Finally,
I want to answer the people
Have a good
that
meal.
don't like that walk a lukewarm like lifestyle. What are they going to do? Are they going to change anything?
That's
What it really.
That's why I like what I'm saying, because it will get harder and harder to walk that line. You will have to be, you'll have to be hot or cold. It will have to be black or white. It will have to be light or dark, because it will just get more and more polarizing in our society. And I think Christians look at that as a negative thing. Well, dude, America is a secular nation. Not only are we a secular nation, don't get it twisted, we are the leader of the secular world. The rest of this sinning world looks at us for what their society looks like. We have Hollywood, we have all the music, everything that influences the world
Culture.
is us. Now, if you get into other world religions, that's fine, but they have a lot of similar values to us as far as family goes outside of Christianity. But the worldly world, the secular anti-God world is America, dude. Like, we're the king of it. So I think it's crazy that people are surprised that America is acting sinful and secular like we freaking have always been. And that's what I like about it, because I think it will be nearly impossible for our kids to be. I think you'll still be able to live a double life like that, but the lukewarmness will become harder and harder because you will have to be one or the other.
Because we're just doing I hope and pray that churches all across America are doing a better job at getting people to understand that the middle line is owned by the enemy.
Yeah, there is no middle line.
Where you think,
That's a
where
deception.
you think you are safe, where you think you are good, where you think you're going to get by on your good works, and just I'll be all right. Like why the heck would God? Why would God take a murderer to heaven who forgives and believes in Jesus, but the person who never does anything bad and he does some charity, but he never puts his faith in Jesus goes to hell? People can't fathom the idea because God didn't come to save.
He didn't come to save bad people.
He came to save,
The sick.
He came to make dead people alive.
and that's what the goal
You messed
is.
up. You messed
You
that
messed
up.
it up.
Did I?
No, it's okay. God didn't come to make bad people good.
Oh yeah. Well,
He didn't come to save bad people.
edit it.
He came to
I thought you were going.
make
I
dead
thought you were
people
going with the
alive.
righteous
Yeah,
to sin.
I
I
thought-
thought you was going.
That's where I was going, but he
What
doesn't
were
know
you
the
going?
word. He doesn't know the
come for the
word.
healthy. He didn't come for the healthy, but those who are sick.
He doesn't know the
You
word.
could have went that
What are
route,
you
too.
talking
That's what he
about?
was going with.
I went the
going.
righteous
Where were
to
you
sin
going?
route.
I thought
He
you was
didn't.
going for. He didn't
I
come
thought
for
about
the
a
healthy,
different
but those who
phrase.
know they're sick.
Okay, so say the phrase you wanted to say.
No, I don't.
He didn't come to save.
No, it doesn't matter.
Okay. You're talking about the church is not supposed to be a museum for Christians. It's supposed to be a hospital for the sick. That thing.
I wasn't really going there.
Okay.
Well, any thoughts?
Yeah. Is there anything you want to say?
Nah.
Is there anything you want to say?
I don't know.
Dude, can you flex? Just give it. Dude, look at that. Bro, look
Bro, he
That's-
was glazing you. He
dude,
said, "I'm
that's my
intimidated by
man.
that black man down there."
I did not say I did not say that.
But I said, "What about me when I first came?" He said, "Nah."
I think I can take you.
That's
No.
crazy.
It was not intimidated. Did I say
Yes, you said
intimidated?
intimidated.
Oh, I think I was.
Instead of trembling.
I was like, bro, look at him. I was like, bro, he's jacked. Look at him getting out of this car right now. And then you were walking, and I was like, dude, I'm intimidated by him even from the third floor right now. I'm just kidding. I think we had hopefully some of the stuff we
Hopefully,
said today.
we ended racism.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna end racism. Same as I said in the last video. Unfortunately, if you just listen to this and do nothing with it, it is completely pointless.
Yeah, start the conversation.
Go and do something with.
Go have friends that are not your skin color.
Yeah,
Find out culture.
yeah.
Be receptive of what's different.
The music and the food is better in black churches. Let's be honest.
It is.
So if that's what you're missing in your church, maybe try to go to a Haitian church or AME or a Kojic church. Maybe dress a little nicer.
Yeah.
These are the main
Take out your
takeaways
nose
from-
ring and make sure you're covering your
Oh,
tattoos.
dude, can you go into the black church with earrings though?
No, you can't have tattoos, bro. Last time,
You have your ears pierced.
well, they can't say nothing to me now. Like,
Oh, but you wouldn't before. I mean, you
Yeah.
have your ears pierced,
They'll
but you
tell-
take it out.
I went it before. I got this like when I graduated. Like going to my
After
own
graduation,
separate
yeah.
church.
Dude, I'm telling you, I got a tattoo that says God is able, and my grandma didn't talk to me for a month.
You got a cross. She's like, "How you going to get to heaven?" Now?
She's gonna cut it
She
off.
said, "Fosse profeta."
That was my great grandma.
Fosse profeta. Oh yeah. One time we went to visit his
She's
great grandmother. We're sitting
But
in
she
the bed.
felt it.
She was 107.
She died at 109.
So
Wow.
she was like 107, I think, at the time, and she had to hold her eyes open to see because her eyelids were heavy, you know. So she holds her eyes open and she looks at me and PJ. You say she pointed at me, but
I
she
believe
did
she was
not.
pointing at you. She
I
knew
know
me.
the
She
story.
pointed directly to no, because your mom said that's PJ.
We were both living in sin,
She
bro.
pointed.
Don't
That's
worry.
true. She points to PJ and she says, "False profeta, false profeta," which means false prophet. She was calling you.
What's the
That's
cool, hey?
crazy.
What's the cool thing and the authentic thing about me and Alex's relationship
what?
is we've
Careful.
known each other for so
Okay.
long.
Yes.
We've allowed God.
Yes.
We've walked the walk
We've
of
asked God.
repentance.
Yes, we have walked the walk.
We've
of
done stuff together, and we've just seen God's grace in our lives. So at some point, you grow up, you realize that these chances, you don't want to just squander them away. You don't want to take them lightly. You want to be fully transformed by God's power.
Yeah.
And here we are now, 10 years later. Because that all happened so long ago.
Yep.
Where we've done some stuff, and we just look back and it's like, man, thank you, God, that you've been there the whole way. And we believe that He's going to be with you guys the whole way. And
Yeah.
we're just looking forward to what God does in all of our lives, and hopefully ends racism.
Dude, God, come quickly. That's what Pastor Gens prayed. You were like, man, maybe Jesus is going to come back tomorrow. That should be our prayer. Like, God, come on, hurry up. Come
Dude,
quickly.
it would suck if like you guys just close and out here I am by myself.
What do you mean?
But you still got you still have a chance.
Yeah, I'll fight.
Be saved right now.
No, like on the podcast, you guys dropped to close, and here I am.
Wait.
The rapture happens.
No, we're gone. We're gone. We're gone.
You're coming with us, dude.
No, I know that.
Okay, well
but
then-
I'm just saying,
all right.
dude. I'll take the guillotine.
Whoa, dude.
I'm not gonna give up.
Hey.
What is it?
I mean, I hope
Take
so.
me, take me.
You
Take
can't have
me,
the,
I'm good.
You can't
What
have
is
the,
it? It's
the mark
like-
of the beast.
No, yeah, I'm not taking
That
it.
was the COVID vaccine.
I didn't take that either.
Dude, I'm kidding.
I ain't taking
I didn't get it.
Wait,
I
none of you guys got? I actually did.
Oh! Where is it?
I had to. They wouldn't let me to Australia unless I got it. How crazy is that? So look, I
That's
guess
how they got you.
oh, you would take the mark of the beast if you had. Okay, so now I rebuke it. And God, forgive me. We are the Dumb Saints. We hope this podcast has been helpful in some way.
Our entire podcast.
And God bless you. We'll see you next week. Hallelujah. Come on, dab me up. Dab me up.